Are we so busy trying to find the man behind the curtain? And are we so busy patting ourselves on the back when we start to find a man behind the curtain that we're missing the whole point? The point being that what we really need to find, what we really need to discover is the man behind the curtain. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the wizard is the deception. You can identify the wizard. You can get rid of the wizard. But if you get rid of the wizard, they'll just find somebody else to run the machine. We've got to go deeper than who's running the machine. We've got to find out who invented the machine. And we've also got to find out who designed the machine. Christina, there's no sound on your end. Our sound is good to go over here, wall to wall and treetop tall. So, who is the man behind the curtain? And I believe, as is my job as the Christian whistleblower, I'm here to show you who the man behind the curtain is, here to identify for you and to you the real source of our problems, the real source of our difficulties, and the real source of all of these various and sundry organizations and entities that are against us. But having found the man behind the curtain, ladies and gentlemen, is not enough. We can't stop having found the man behind the curtain. We can't be content having found the man behind the curtain. We've got to go on. We've got to find more. We've got to find the man behind the curtain. And it just has to be, or we'll never really have our victory. Even if you just look at this picture that I made, this graphic that I made, the wizard is the deception. I'm the Christian whistleblower. This is part 2. Say you shoot this guy in the back of the head. Boom! He falls to the floor. The blood puddle spreads out. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to come get that dude, pull his body away, get somebody else out there to clean up the mess, and then they're going to put somebody else in there to run the machine. But we've been taught, we've been programmed to believe that if we can just find the man behind the curtain, well, there he is. And let me take that cross off of his head so it's not quite so violent looking. But this guy is just another layer of the deception. If this guy's gone, okay, great. They'll bring somebody else out to run this machine. They'll make a better curtain. So what we really need to know is who designed this machine. And what we really need to know is who came up with the blueprints to design this machine. What's the blueprint for the conspiracies, for the false flags, for the chicanery they pull on us today? What is the blueprint? Let me talk to you about the blueprint. The blueprint is creating a false backstory. The blueprint is creating a patsy. The blueprint is creating a false flag event. The blueprint is controlling all media response. The blueprint is removing the patsy. The blueprint is rewriting history. The blueprint is destroying all the evidence. But what's the blueprint? Who came up with that blueprint? Who came up with that blueprint? Well, I shared with you on part 1 of this series that that blueprint was used for the first time in our modern era with the great Jesus false flag. That's right. They created a false backstory for this person named Jesus, who never really existed. They created a patsy for this person named Jesus to be just like the other people in these false backstories. It'd be crucified and resurrected, but the Christ never was. They created a false flag event, which was the crucifixion. They controlled all media in response to the crucifixion. They removed their patsy. What happened to Thomas? Or if you want to go down that road, what happened to Jesus? Oh, he went back to heaven. Poof, he's gone. Nobody there to tell the tale. They rewrote history, and they destroyed all the evidence right up to and including the burning of the Library of Alexandria, the destruction of Jerusalem, destroying everybody who saw it. That's the blueprint. The Jesus false flag is the blueprint for all of our modern control structures, all of the modern false flags, all of the modern things. The Jesus false flag was the blueprint for Pearl Harbor. The Jesus false flag was the blueprint for Gulf of Tonkin. The Jesus false flag was the blueprint for Operation Northwoods. The Jesus false flag was the blueprint for 9/11. And just to throw it in for a bonus, also the Branch Davidians David Koresh massacre. Oh, come on, Jeff. That's just ridiculous. You're saying that the Jesus false flag is the blueprint for all these things? Well, let's test my theory. Did Pearl Harbor have a false backstory? Well, sure it did. The sneaky Japanese, the nasty Japanese, in the middle of the night when no one knew, it was actually early in the morning, they just snuck up on us and they killed a bunch of people. That's the false backstory, because the reality is that, and this has been proven by secular media, this has been proven by multiple secular, multiple acknowledged sources, that the U.S. knew that the Pearl Harbor attack was coming. They knew the Japanese were moving their ships into position. They knew the Japanese were planning an attack. They knew it was going to happen. So there was no sneaky Japanese launching a horrible, unprovoked attack. We knew they were coming. So Pearl Harbor did have a backstory. Did Pearl Harbor have a patsy? Yes. Again, the evil, wicked Japanese who were responding in war with an act of war. We just didn't let people know that we knew they were coming. And how can you explain the fact that we let them go ahead and bomb Pearl Harbor, which created a false flag event? We controlled all media response to it. So no one knew until very, very recently. And still most people will go, la, 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 if you tell them and show them that we knew the Japanese were coming. And then, of course, we removed the patsy because we killed all them damn Japs. We decimated the Japanese people with nuclear weaponry. We rewrote history to say that a day that will live in infamy. Well, it was a day that should live in infamy, but the infamy wasn't that the Japanese attacked us in an act of war, but the infamy was that we knew they were coming and didn't tell anybody and let those Americans die. And did they destroy all the evidence? Of course they did. Pearl Harbor lines up with the Jesus false flag blueprint. How about the Gulf of Tonkin? Unfortunately, some of you don't even know what I'm talking about with the Gulf of Tonkin. Well, the Gulf of Tonkin was when a U.S. ship was supposedly fired upon by Vietnamese forces, and that was used as a justification to start the Vietnam War. Was there a false backstory? Yes. This whole story about the U.S. being fired upon was phony. Was there a patsy? Yes. The Vietnamese army that never really fired on U.S. ships in the Gulf of Tonkin. Did they create a false flag event? Yes. They fired on their own ships in the Gulf of Tonkin, or made it up that it did happen. Did they control all media? Of course they did. Most of you don't even know this happened, and the rest of you don't know that the admiral in charge of it was Admiral Morrison, father of Jim Morrison. I'm trying to help you break on through to the other side. I'm trying to help you get to the man behind the curtain. Did they remove their patsy? How many Vietnamese and Americans died in that senseless, pointless war? Did they rewrite history? Yes. I did serve in 6 years in the Air Force, and I was shot at. Did they destroy all the evidence? Yes. The Gulf of Tonkin lines up with the Jesus false flag pattern. And for brevity's sake, I'm just going to go right to 9/11. Did 9/11 line up with the Jesus false flag blueprint? Did they create a false backstory? Yeah. Guys with box cutters learning to fly 747s. Did they create a patsy? Yep. Those 7 Muslim terrorists. Did they create a false flag event? Yeah. Both those towers came tumbling down. Did they control all media? You tell me. Did they rewrite history? You tell me. Did they destroy all the evidence? You tell me. All the steel, everything from 9/11 was gone in record time. Incidentally, no airplane parts, no jet parts, jets flying through steel beams. It was a false flag. It was horrible. What's your point, Jeff? My point is that every single false flag operation that's ever been perpetrated has followed the blueprint that was perpetrated by one event. And 95% of the people that want to talk about conspiracy, 95% of the people that want to talk about false flags, 95% of the people that call themselves truthers, the Titanic, there's another one we could talk about. 95% of these people they refuse to acknowledge the original false flag. Not only do they refuse to acknowledge it, they won't even entertain discussion of it. And they will block, fight, spit, cuss, accuse, hurl epithets, denounce, make fun of people that try to say, and currently I'm the only one that I know that's trying to say it, that the original false flag, the blueprint for all false flags, is the Jesus false flag. But we can't talk about Jesus being a false flag. We can't talk about the Bible being a false flag. We can't talk about religion being a false flag. Why? Because it makes too many people mad. And really, let's back up. The reason why 95% of truthers, quote unquote, 95% of people that talk conspiracy, 95% of people that talk false flag, 95% of people that want to talk about all of this stuff, it's because they don't have the guts to apply their investigatory skills to religion. They don't have the guts to do it. They don't have the guts to think about it. They need Jay Campbell's help because they got low testosterone. They don't have the cajoles. They don't have the kahunas. They don't have the stones. Do you get what I'm talking about? to focus their brilliance, to focus their incredible brain power, to focus their amazing skills of investigation on religion and Christianity. It's the third rail. We can't talk about it. If you do talk about it, you can't get on any shows. You can't grow your channel. Nobody wants to talk to you because we all want to lay off the sacred cow. You're not a truther unless you're willing to look at the ultimate conspiracy. You're not a conspiracy investigator until you're ready to investigate the ultimate conspiracy, and you're not worth your salt. You shouldn't be able to call yourself a truther or an investigator until you reach down between your legs, feel that there's a set, and have the guts to investigate religion. Forget audit the Fed. Audit God. Audit the Bible, or shut the hell up. Because you're a fraud, you're a phony, you're a coward, or maybe you just haven't had anybody use strong enough language to encourage you to actually take a look, to actually broach that third rail, to actually realize all conspiracy, every damn one of them, all false flags, every damn one of them, all of them, follow the blueprint created by the first false flag of our modern historical era, the Jesus false flag. And until you're ready and willing to take a look at it, get that con out of my face. I don't want to hear your crap anymore. Step up or shut up. Are you a man or are you a mouse? Are you a woman or are you a mouse? Show me you got the guts to identify the real enemy. Show me you got the guts, having discovered the man behind the curtain, to go forward and discover the man behind the curtain. Now, I'm not going to gain a lot of friends by this. I'm not going to gain a lot of subscribers by this. I'm not going to gain a bunch of invitations by this. But when I lay down at night, I'll sleep like a baby by doing this. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, that I have turned over every rock. I know, ladies and gentlemen, that I've done what I was put here to do. I know that I have looked into all the dark corners of orthodoxy and shined light. I know who I am. I know what I've done. How about you? I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, the real truther. Guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, I need to do this. I never do this. I need to make sure that I start doing this. I want you to go to my website. I want you to check it out. I want you to think about getting rods. I want you to think about getting shirts. I want you to think about getting books. I have 2 new books coming out very soon. And I want you to click on this MYSTECH logo, learn about these bands, which will change your life. I get letters literally every single day. And by letters, of course, I mean emails from people that say, man, these things are the best. And over 80% of the people that purchase more. That says something. And not only do you get something that changes your life, if you order through me, if you click on this button right here, 2 things happen.